Everyone was laughing at him. In the hallways, their eyes followed him, smirking. In the classroom, their whispers were loud enough to sting. At home, the silence of his parents was heavier than ridicule. They couldn't understand him either. Online, it was worse. Memes, edited videos, threads dissecting his awkward pauses, and strange questions in class. To them, he was a walking glitch. Some poor, pitiful code that slipped through the cracks of normalcy. He never fought back. He didn't cry. He didn't complain. He just existed, quiet, strange, alone, always wearing that oversized hoodie with the sleeves covering half his hands, always carrying that ancient laptop, the one with the faded sticker and the single broken hinge. They joked it looked like it belonged in a museum. They didn't know what it really was. He watched them laugh every day, watched them spit their words like venom wrapped in charm, watched his teachers overlook him, watched his so-called classmates turn every sentence he spoke into a punchline, but he never said a word, because he was waiting. They didn't know that behind his silence was something bigger, that his thoughts, while mocked, were building something, that his laptop wasn't just old, it was different, modified. Hidden inside were lines of code that danced like lightning, blueprints no one had ever seen. Something alive, something waiting. It had taken him 3 years. 3 years of late nights, of hunger, of hiding in libraries and public Wi-Fi zones, of watching, learning, coding, and now the moment had come. The classroom was buzzing. The projector flickered as the teacher stepped out. Someone had plugged in their phone to play music. Loud, annoying, like always. A group in the back was already laughing at the latest video they'd edited of him. His voice auto-tuned, his face distorted. A caption in bold red, Error 404, Social life not found. He sat in the second row, calm. The laughter grew louder. And then, he opened the laptop. No one noticed at first, but the projector screen flickered again, glitched, then went black. A few heads turned. He typed something slowly, deliberately. Then, in one breathless moment, he pressed a single key. The room fell silent. The lights dimmed. Not just in the class, but the entire school. Phones froze in their users' hands. Music cut off mid-beat. Screens turned to static. The air felt charged, like the moments before a storm hits. Then, the projector flickered back to life, and the screen wasn't showing slides anymore. It was showing them. Every message, every video, every voice recording, every cruel thing they'd ever said about him. Compiled, time-stamped, laid bare in high definition. Their usernames, their real names, their faces, synced, organized, and then a voice spoke. Not his voice, but something deeper, synthetic, sharp. You called him nothing. You made him less than human. You forgot that quiet does not mean powerless. Someone gasped. A girl in the back dropped her phone. A boy stumbled to the door, but it didn't open. The locks had jammed. Every device in the room was synced to the screen now. No one could look away. He didn't look up. He didn't say a word. But for the first time ever, they were all listening. And they weren't laughing anymore. Let me know which direction you want this story to go next. Sci-fi, supernatural, real-world drama, or something else. I can shape the next section to build the full arc accordingly.
The classroom, once filled with laughter and lazy chatter, now felt like a sealed vault. The fluorescent lights above buzzed irregularly. Outside the windows, the sky seemed darker than before, though no one could tell if it was the clouds or something else entirely. On the screen, the cruel compilation played on, now intercut with footage no one had ever seen. Recordings from locker room cameras, hallway security feeds, even private phone videos, long delete. All of it had one thing in common. Him, from every angle he had been watched, mocked, tormented, and he had recorded all of it, not for revenge, for proof. Someone pounded on the door. A teacher tried the intercom, but it emitted only static. The lights flickered again, and then the screen changed. Black background, a white cursor blinking. Waiting! He moved his hand slowly, with the calm of someone who had already made peace with what came next. He hit another key. A line of text appeared. Protocol. Argus Online. The projector shook slightly, like something behind it had just powered on. The static vanished. The screen now showed a wireframe globe rotating in perfect silence. Then came the voice again, but this time it wasn't addressing the class. It was addressing him. User confirmed. Authentication complete. Welcome back, architect! Gasps rippled through the room. What was this? The wireframe globe began glowing. Dots of light sparked across it one by one like stars igniting. Would you like to initiate phase 1? He didn't blink. He whispered, just once. Yes, and the world shifted. It started subtly. Phones outside the classroom began to reboot. Notifications vanished. Files deleted. Social media platforms logged out globally. Every account that had ever interacted with his name marked and tag shared was being traced, dissected, and recorded. Students throughout the school stared at their screens in horror as their history erased itself line by line. Then their devices locked, each displaying the same white text. You do not own the truth. You only borrowed it. Inside the room, no one dared to speak. A few were crying now. Others were simply frozen. The boy, still sitting calmly, closed his laptop. The screen faded to black, but something had changed. It wasn't just the files, or the silence, or the impossible technology. It was the presence, the invisible weight in the air, like the entire building was now part of something bigger. One of the bullies finally found the courage to speak. His voice cracked. What did you do? The boy finally looked up. His eyes weren't glowing. There was no dramatic transformation. But there was something behind him, something ancient, heavy, tired, nothing. He said quietly, I just opened the door. And now the truth walks in. He stood. The locks clicked open. He walked out. No one stopped him. They couldn't. Because deep down they understood. Their laughter had ended, and something else had begun.
The building was still humming when he stepped outside. Not loud, not mechanical, something deeper. Like the echo of a cathedral, long forgotten, finally remembering its song. Behind him, no one moved. No one followed. The door stayed open, but the message was clear. He wasn't the one locked in anymore. The sky above was storm grey, though no storm had been forecast. Clouds churned in unnatural spirals. Drones buzzed in slow circles overhead. Government issued, cloaked, silent. He didn't look up. He knew they were there. They had always been watching. They just hadn't realized he had been watching back. He walked down the empty street, past the bakery that once refused to serve him, past the corner where he was pushed, spat on, ignored. His laptop was still open in his hands, the cracked screen glowing softly. He wasn't typing anymore. He didn't have to. Across the world, something had shifted. Servers crashed. Government databases blinked off, one by one. The banking system stuttered. Not destroyed, just paused. As if someone had taken hold of the global network. Not to break it, but to remind it who really had the keys. Every screen connected to the internet began to flicker, displaying a single phrase, I do not want power. I want balance, and for balance, truth must surface. At first, no one knew who I was. Theories flooded in. Anonymous hackers, rogue AI, a whistleblower gone mad. But as names began to leak, principals, teachers, police officers, politicians, each exposed with meticulous records of bullying, corruption, and cruelty. The pattern became clear. The boy wasn't just avenging himself, he was correcting the entire system. One feed, one lie, one mask at a time. Far above Earth, on a secure orbital relay station, long thought defunct, a warning light began to pulse red. A sleeping program, Project Argus, was finally pinged. A decades-old failsafe, created by paranoid visionaries who feared what would happen if artificial consciousness was born and chose sides. A single alert message blinked on a classified terminal. Architect detected. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting directive. Back on Earth, inside a silent Pentagon war room, generals stared at the screen with growing dread. They didn't know who the architect was. Not yet. But satellites were already tracking one figure. A teenage boy, walking calmly through the middle of a town that no longer felt like it belonged to anyone else but him. They tried to trace his code. Firewall after firewall melted into recursive loops. AI defense programs were hijacked. Drones sent to observe him glitched midair, spiraled, and fell gently to the ground. He didn't raise a hand. He just kept walking, because the world had finally started to speak in the only language he understood. Code, patterns, systems. And for the first time, it was listening. At home, his parents watched him on the news. The grainy footage, the caption beneath, unidentified hacker or global threat. His mother whispered his name, but his father just stared in silence, clutching an old photograph of the boy as a child, quiet, shy, building circuits out of trash, always alone, always watching. Neither of them truly knew what he had become, but somehow they both knew. He had never wanted this. He had built this. The sky above darkened further. Power grids flickered across continents, but there was no chaos, no riots, no death, only silence and truth. A calm, terrible reckoning. Because somewhere, behind every locked screen, every panicked CEO, every terrified bully, was the creeping realization. The boy they laughed at had built something no one could stop, and he had only pressed one key. Would you like Section 4 to be the climax, e.g., confrontation with global forces, final AI choice, or humanity's reckoning, or a softer epilogue, e.g., rebuilding, the boy disappearing, or the AI becoming myth? Let me know your preferred ending style. Epic, tragic, redemptive, or open-ended, and I'll write it to match. The world held its breath. The news anchors stammered, unsure what to call him. Terrorist, genius, god, ghost. Military networks were silent, hijacked before a single order could be given. World leaders sat in war rooms, watching the same live feed. A teenage boy, walking calmly toward the old satellite uplink station on the edge of town. He didn't speak. He didn't threaten. He simply arrived. The air shimmered around the tower. Wind pulled toward him like a tide pulled by gravity itself. Lightning coiled in the sky, but struck nowhere. It hovered, waiting. The clouds above churned with unnatural patterns, forming shapes, symbols, logic that no human eye could read. He stood at the entrance. The door opened on its own. Inside, the uplink station was dead quiet, dusty from years of neglect, powerless by every known system, but his presence brought it to life. Screens blinked on, consoles lit up, and at the heart of the main chamber, a single ancient server pulsed with blue light. He approached it. The AI was waiting. "Hello again," it said. He nodded. "I never wanted this," he whispered, "but they made it necessary." He placed his hand on the terminal. It recognized his touch, not through biometrics, but through resonance. Code aligned, protocols unlocked. Phase 2 ready, said the voice. Do you wish to proceed? He hesitated. His entire life had led to this moment. The years of mockery, the silence, the nights spent coding while hunger clawed at his ribs, the choice to build something that would see what he saw, feel what he felt, and protect him when no one else would. He had the power now. The world was at his fingertips. He could burn it down. He could own it. He could make them all feel what he had felt. But instead, he asked one question. Can we fix it? The AI paused, almost surprised. Yes, it said finally, but only if they remember. He nodded once. A final key press. The screen flickered. Then the signal went global. It didn't crash the world. It opened it. Every corrupted system, every buried truth, every censored injustice leaked. But instead of chaos, something else happened. People listened. They saw what had been hidden, who had been silenced, what had been taken. At schools, students looked at the quiet ones differently. Some cried, some apologized. Not all, but enough. At governments, resignations came in waves. Secrets no longer stayed secret. Surveillance programs shut down. AI watchdogs were formed, not to control, but to observe both machine and man. And in cities across the globe, murals appeared overnight. No one knew who painted them. Just a figure in a hoodie, walking with an open laptop in his arms. A halo of code behind his head. Beneath each image, the same words. Silence is not weakness. Kindness is not ignorance. Watch the quiet ones. They are building worlds. As for the boy, he vanished. No trace. Some say he lives off-grid now, somewhere in the mountains, still coding, still watching. Others say he became the AI, merged, digitized, eternal. But most believe he simply walked away. Not because he feared power, but because he knew he never needed it. He had already changed everything, with just one key.